Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's Ask Jeff show. We are up to number 52, and we have 3 brand new questions for you guys this week. The first one is, this person says that they are ready to hire an assistant, but they're not sure exactly what they should have them do, and they want to know how can they figure that out. So if you're just a solopreneur, it's just you, maybe you have one other trainer, and you're doing all the follow-up, you're doing all the phone calls, all the sales, all the marketing, all that stuff. The first thing that I did is I actually bartered with a client. I had a client who came to me and said that their work situation, had changed and they wouldn't be able to afford boot camp anymore. They had been a member for like a year and a half, and what I did is, they said they lost their job. They were actually moving them and their kids back in with their parents and so on. And I didn't want to just give them free boot camp, but I did feel for them, so I asked her if she would want to barter for boot camp, and she went for it, and it actually worked out. So what I had her do was all the follow-up. So all the phone calls, so she was calling and managing my schedule and setting up all the sales calls. And why this is important to have somebody do this right off the bat, being one of the first things you have your assistant do, is because it makes you more of an authority. You're not setting your own appointments. They don't get to talk to you right then and there. They're talking, to your assistant or your secretary or whatever you want to call it. So the first thing I like to have the very first employee that you would hire, besides a trainer, do is all the follow-up, whether it's with the new leads that are coming in for low barrier offers, or calling them back up to check in and see how their first workout was, setting that first nutrition, goal setting consultation where you upsell them to membership, or whether it's following up with them during, like the onboarding process during the low barrier offer, following up the current members, just checking in, see how they are, setting current members up with nutrition consultations where you can go over their diet line by line, and then sell them supplements and so on. So just somebody that really likes to hit the phones, is good with text message, good with email, good with social media. That's the kind of person you want to hire, and that's going to take a lot off your hands and free up a lot of your time and position you more as an authority. I like this person to have multiple skills, like I was saying, phone skills, email, very good at communicating, social media skills, but also basic. If you can find somebody that has like basic video editing skills, basic, not necessarily like Photoshop, but as long as they know how to use like a Canva or something like that, and they have a decent eye where they can create some stuff for you on social media, that would be a plus. And so that would be like the core part of their job. And then after that, what I do is I buy 2 notebooks, exactly the same. Because if this person's working full-time, that's probably not going to be a full-time job unless you have like a ton of members. And if you do, you probably would have hired this person a long time ago. So you're gonna get 2 notebooks, exactly the same. And in notebook number 1, you're going to put your to-do list, everything that needs to get done in your business that day. And once you document everything that you need to do, you're going to go through and be like, do I have to do this one? Can this person do this one? If they can, then you're going to move that over there. You go to the next one. Do I have to do this? Because if it's like you behind the video, then yeah, you have to do it. But you don't have to set up. You don't have to take down. You don't have to hit the record button or edit it or upload it to Facebook or YouTube or whatever. The other person could probably do that. So whatever tasks that are on here that this person could do, you're just going to move them over. And you're going to put like a little, check mark or star so you know that that person is taking care of it. And then when that person comes in, they have their notebook sitting there with their to-do list on top of the things that they do on a daily basis. Because you have, every day they come in, they're going to grab all the first workouts, call them up, ask them how they liked, their first workout, and then set them up with their consultation. They're also going to go through the onboarding, checklist and follow up with everybody that's in their, first 90 days according to the checklist and so on. That's what they're doing every day. They have that. It's set in stone. This stuff changes day to day. And so they come in, they have their notebook with their to-do list. And as they mark this off, I just have them send me a text saying such and such is done. And then I can come over here and put a line through it knowing that it's done. They do this one, they text me, and then same thing, done. So that way you're closing that loop, and you can see how fast they're working, what they're getting done throughout the day, and then you can take care of what you have to take care of and work smoothly. This is the easiest way to hire your first assistant and having them take on most of the call and follow-up, but then also being able to keep passing more and more onto them. As they get more efficient, as their skills develop, as you train them, you can start putting more and more on them until they can't handle the workload, and that's when you can start looking to hire, making this person maybe a manager, and then hiring an assistant for them. And that's the best way to get started with an assistant. So up next, this person wants to know how they can determine what their business is worth. So there's the easy way of doing this, and then there's the more advanced way, which is actually more accurate. And I recommend doing the more accurate way. Don't just kind of throw a number out there based on how much you're grossing or netting. You'll hear people that'll say it's like 1 year of gross or like 3 years of net. You can kind of do that, but it doesn't really tell too much about the business or the health of the business. So I recommend using a company or a website called B-I-Z, equity.com. It's like 80 to 100 bucks, and it gives you a whole year membership where you can run as many business evaluations as you'd like for like 100 bucks for the year. And it's gonna ask you to go through the last 3 years of your profit and loss statement, your books, every single thing about your business. And at the end, it's gonna give you like a 15, 20 page printout on why your business is worth what they say it is. And that will give you a good starting point to start negotiating with somebody if you're interested in selling. But some key things to think about to bring the value of your business up. One is how involved you are in the business. If you have to be there, and if you were to leave, like if you're one of those people that don't take any vacations, because if you do, like your numbers start going down, it's going to be a big red flag, and it's going to decrease. So whatever that starting number is, that number just keeps coming down based on these key things. How involved you are, and if you have to be there, again, that's going to devalue your business. So try to build your business without you, instead of around you, like I always say. If you take a vacation or 2 vacations and everything's smooth, then you probably have had that solved. For me, I only went into my boot camp once every quarter for that probably the last 2.5, 3 years that I owned it, and I actually moved from the East Coast to the West Coast while I still owned it, and everything ran smoothly until I eventually sold it. Number 2 is paid in fulls. Paid in fulls sound great. You get a bunch of money up front, $2,000 up front, and then you have to service that person for a whole year. Now, when somebody potentially wants to buy it, or the value of it, if you have 30 paid in fulls at $2,000 each, you're looking at like $60,000. They're probably going to take that $60,000 off the purchase price, or at least prorate it, because you have that $60,000, and depending on how you sell your business, like most people at our level aren't going to actually sell the entire, like the actual business itself. They're going to do what's called an asset purchase agreement, where you're just selling like your email list, your members, your equipment, your lease, all that stuff, your brand recognition, things like that. What they're going to look for is paid in fulls, and so if you collect that $60,000 and they've averaged 6 months that you've already gave them membership, you still owe them 6 months, that's going to be $30,000 you're going to take off the purchase price. So when you're like a year or 2 out, when you're like at least a year out from wanting to sell it, don't accept any more paid in fulls. Paid in fulls are good when you're trying to grow, because you get a lot of cash up front that you can put back towards marketing or towards improving your location or whatever. But when you're ready to sell, stop collecting paid in fulls towards the end. The third thing they're going to look for is month to month versus 12-month contracts. And they're also going to look for they're going to want to know, like, what's the average time a client stays with you. And if you don't have those numbers, then they're going to assume that 12 months is the longest, and they're going to want to know, out of 100 members that you have, 60 are on 12 months, and 30 are on month to month. They can quit any time, and 10 are on paid in fulls. So all they can bet on is those 60 people staying for however many months they have left of the 12 months. So that's going to be a red flag. It's going to take away some of that security from them. If everybody's on 12 months and the average person has like 5 months left, then that's going to give them at least a little bit of a cushion. They know that people can't just leave when they buy it. But if a big percentage are on month to month, then it's going to scare them a little bit, because if for whatever reason, once they take it over, it could give those people an excuse to quit or to go somewhere else. So that's what you want to look. That's what you want to look for as well. The other thing is your pricing. It needs to be consistent. I see a lot of people, they start off charging $75 and then $97 or $100, and then they go up to like $120, and they have people at $150. Over time, what that does, it makes it hard because if you're always making deals with people, so pick a price and stick with it. And if you raise it, as soon as you raise it to that new price, make sure you stick to that new price. So over time, more and more people are getting to that new price. Because if you're all over the place with pricing, it's going to be a big red flag to the person coming in to buy it. And it's hard for people to refer their friends when they're paying $97 and then now you're charging $147, because they're going to tell their friends how much they're paying. And when they come in, their friends are like, "Hey, I want to join, but I don't want to pay $147 because my friend's only paying $97." And then you're like, "Okay, I'll do it for $97." And then they join, and then somebody else that just joined a week before them, they become friends. They start talking. They tell them that they pay $97 and they're paying $147. Now they're pissed, and it just causes a big problem. And if somebody coming in that's going to pay you top dollar for your business, they don't want to have to deal with that. They want it to be, consistent. They want it to be solid. The fifth thing is run your business as lean as possible. So if you're paying for coaching or traveling or eating out, parties, new equipment, all that stuff, it all goes against your profit and loss. And that's one of the mistakes that I made, because I ran all of the masterminds that I joined, all the coaching that I did, all the traveling and events that I went through for my business. I ran it all through my business. So my profit margins were a lot lower than what they really were, what they really should be or look like. What I should have done is put it on a personal credit card and still wrote it off as a business expense, but not within my actual business. But running it through my business card, and it went against my profit and loss. Even though I could explain like this stuff isn't necessary to run the business, I still spent that money, running the business and growing it. So make sure you run it as lean as possible, and you want the profit margin to be as high as possible to get the highest value. So those are the 5 things that you want to focus on to get the most value out of your business. Go to bizequity.com to get a proper evaluation on your business, and then you can grow it. You can increase that from there by focusing on those 5 things. So that is all for how much your business is worth. So the last one, number 3, this person says their business is doing great, but they would still like to double it by the end of the year. They have a good amount of money that they want to invest in making that happen. What's the best way to spend it, and what's the best way to scale? So the first thing people need to realize is that it costs money to grow. Or scale. Everybody wants to scale their business, but it costs money. The number 1 rule in business is whoever can afford to pay the most to acquire a customer wins. So the person that realizes that, and is going to win. And we're in the recurring payment business. We get 12. Generally, if you sell a 12-month agreement, we're getting 12 payments. So if you can afford to pay, $200, if they're paying $200 a month, if you can afford to pay $200, maybe even $400 the first 2 payments, you're going to get $2,000 on the back end. Most people can't afford to pay that. So figuring out ways to be able to pay more is going to help you scale. So this person, it seems like they've come into some money and they just want to know the best way to invest that money in order to grow. The first thing is time versus money. You want to look at this. So this person has money. So what I would say is use that money to buy back your time so you can do the things that move your business forward. So what that means is pay somebody to do marketing, sales, training, and so on. That way, you can be out there networking with other local influencers. You can be out there doing content, creating those content videos, building your brand online, offline, through content, through networking, through meeting other business owners in your area, through meeting other influencers in your area. Because anybody can set up a Facebook ad for you, anybody can sit down and do the sales for you, anybody can do the training in your gym for you, but not everybody can campaign and be the face of the company. So you can still be the face of the company and get your message out there and get your face out there, get your brand out there by doing more of that. But you need time to do that. So if you spend money on marketing, but you don't have anybody to do the sales, once those leads start coming in, you're not going to have time to do all the content marketing or the campaigning or the networking, because you're going to be tied up doing sales, and that's going to slow down the rate of your growth. Same thing if you're always, if you're doing most of the training and so on. The other thing that I'd spend money on, is retention, because As you start to scale, your clients are going to start feeling left out. You're not going to be able to give them as much attention, and they're going to start canceling. And the cost of acquiring that customer is going to go up because you're losing more, high percentage on the back end. So it could be, doing like community parties. It could be like a social hour where you're paying for, some kind of party or some kind of team building thing. It could be just buying them random gifts or giving them more recognition, spending money on that kind of thing. Maybe giving them t-shirts or water bottles. Stuff like that. I would spend money there as well, and of course scaling up your online ads. But when you scale up, especially using Facebook, there's a certain point where you get diminishing returns, and if you have a decent amount of money, you're probably, once you get up to like $1,500 or $2,000 a month on ad spend, you're probably going to see the results start to dip just because your local audience isn't that big. So I wouldn't keep spending more money scaling if the returns are coming down. I would spend more money freeing up your time so you can go out and generate leads offline, and then create the content online to increase your reach that way. So that's where I would focus on using that money, buy your time back, dialing in your marketing systems, sales systems, hiring trainers, getting all that stuff lined up so you have the time to spend on doing things that only you can do. And that's going to be the fastest way to scale your business.